Okay, welcome in. I'm 3 days behind. No surprise there on my National Hockey League updates and scores. So let's dive in. So Friday, April 4th, there were a total of 4 games. The first game took place between the Detroit Red Wings and the Carolina Hurricanes. The game-winning goal, the final score would be 5-3. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Michael Rasmussen, who would increase the lead to 4-1 at that point. 9:26 of the second period, assisted by Tyler Mott. And for Rasmussen, that'd be his 11th goal of the season. Next game took place between the Washington Capitals and the Chicago Blackhawks. Ovechkin would score twice in this game, helping the Capitals with a 5-3 victory. After he scored his second goal, he would tie Wayne Gretzky for the most goals in National Hockey League history. So he would have the game-winning goal and the tying goal, like I said, with Gretzky as well. We will dive into Sunday's game here once I get caught up on theirs. The Capitals, like I said, they would win by a final score of 5-3. The Islanders played host to the Minnesota Wild. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Simon Holmstrom, who would make it 2-1 in favor of New York. 4:02 of the second period, they'd score one more goal, increasing the lead to 3-1, and that's where you'd stand at the end of regulation. All right, Saturday. A lot of games on Saturday, to say the least. So, Montreal Canadiens played host to the Philadelphia Flyers. After losing to them in the previous week, they definitely had a little bit of revenge, to say the least. So the final score would be 3-2. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of, no surprise here, Nick Suzuki, who would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 27th goal of the season shorthanded, assisted by Gooley. 10:39 of the third period. The Flyers would add one more goal, but unfortunately they were not able to tie it up. So Montreal would win 3-2. A battle in the Metropolitan Division. The New Jersey Devils played host to the New York Rangers. As you can see, the score would be 4-0. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Timo Meier. He would get his 23rd goal of the year on the power play from Luke Hughes and Nico Hischier. The Devils would add 3 more goals, winning 4-0. All right, went from one shutout to the next. The Ottawa Senators played host to the Florida Panthers. Jake Sanderson would kick things off for the Senators in the first, 11:21 to be exact, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Shane Pinto. The Senators would add 2 more goals, and they would shut out the Panthers 3-0. The Dallas Stars played host to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The final score would be 5-3. The crazy thing is the Stars actually had a lead in this game. They blew it. So it was a crucial 2 points that they were not able to pick up. As you can see, it was 2-1, then it was 2-2. Donatov would have a hat trick, getting all 3 goals for the Dallas Stars, but unfortunately it was not enough to secure the win. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Blake Lizotte, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Danton Heinen. 18:17 of the third period. The Vancouver Canucks played host to the Anaheim Ducks. The final score would be 6-2 in favor of Vancouver. Elias Pettersson would get his first National Hockey League goal, not to be confused with the other Elias Pettersson. Philip Hronek would make it 2-1, getting his 5th. Brock Besser would get his 25th goal of the season. That would be the game-winning goal. A power play goal from Quinn Hughes and Lekaramaki, I believe is how you pronounce his name. So the final score would be 6-2 in favor of the Canucks. If I'm going to be honest with you, this is more than likely, unless the Kings happen to take over first place in that Pacific Division, this is more than likely going to be a first-round matchup between the Los Angeles Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. And because the Kings have a significant edge in points, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings had home ice advantage during this matchup. So the Kings would shut out the Oilers 3-0. Kevin Fiala would get the game-winning goal just under halfway through the second period, 9 minutes and 20 seconds to be exact. For Fiala, that'd be his 30th goal of the year, assisted by Lafayette and Jordan Spence. The Boston Bruins played host to the Carolina Hurricanes. The final score would be 5-1. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Elias Lindholm, getting his 15th goal of the year from Pasternak and Morgan Geekie, and that goal happened with 13 seconds to go in the first. The Bruins would add 3 more goals, winning 5-1. The Buffalo Sabres played host to the Tampa Bay Lightning. This game would need to go to a shootout as it was tied after regulation and no scoring in the overtime frame. The shootout winner would come off the stick of Jack Quinn, getting his 15th goal of the season, giving the Sabres a 3-2 shootout win. All right, the Toronto Maple Leafs played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. This was the third shutout on Saturday. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Nick Robertson just over halfway through the first, getting his 13th goal of the year, assisted by Holmberg. The Leafs would add 4 more goals on top of that, shutting out Columbus 5-0. The St. Louis Blues, they just cannot seem to lose. They would win by a final score of 5-4 over the Colorado Avalanche. We'll just skim through all the goals. And once I get to the 5th goal for St. Louis, then we'll have our game winner. So Robert Thomas would get the game-winning goal with 32 seconds to go. It would be an empty net goal. The Avs would add one more late one. Unfortunately, they couldn't tie it up. So, yeah, it's not too often you see a game-winning goal be an empty net goal, but teams have scored after to cut the lead to 1. Yeah, so Sam Malinsky scored with 9 seconds to go, and that was just not enough time on the clock. And the Blues, I believe, set a record, winning their 12th straight victory. And last time they had a record similar to that was back when they won the Cup in 2019, where they won 11 straight games. So kudos to the Blues and that coaching staff for getting this team in the right direction. The Utah Hockey Club played host to the Winnipeg Jets. I know I only normally say the game-winning goals, but I just love saying Captain Clayton Keller. Sounds like a pirate. Sounds so cool. We'll get his 26th goal this season on the power play. Brett Hayton would get the game-winning goal, his 19th of the season on the power play from Guenther and Captain Clayton Keller. It's just too fun to say. Just 57 seconds into the second period. Utah would add 2 more goals. The Jets would score, so they wouldn't be shut out, but 4-1 would be the final score. The Vegas Golden Knights went into Calgary to take on the Flames. As you can see, this game would need to go to overtime, so Vegas grabbed an early 2-0 lead, I should say, halfway through the second. Joe Hanley would score with 8 seconds to go in the second. Matt Coronado would tie the game up just 43 seconds into the third. And then in the overtime frame, Riley Smith, who scored earlier in the game, will get his second goal, his 13th of the season from Shea Theodore and Brett Howden. And I'm sure he's feeling very comfortable back in Vegas. The last game from Saturday took place in San Jose as we had the Kraken, and they played the Sharks played host to the Kraken. The score would be 5-1 in favor of Seattle. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Andrei Burakovsky, getting his 10th of the year from Larson and Jared McCann, 9:26 of the first. Okay, that took care of all of Saturday's action. Now we'll take a look at Sunday's. And after this, then I'll take a look at the standings as well. So we had a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games on Sunday. The first game took place between the Nashville Predators and the Montreal Canadiens. The Habs would win 2-1. Steven Stamkos would get the 1 goal for the Predators. Cole Caulfield would get his 36th goal of the season. He is pushing 40. Assisted by Nick Suzuki a minute 40 into the second. Patrick Laine would get the game goal, 5:47 into the second period, getting his 20th goal of the year from Lane Hudson and Newhook. Pretty good for a guy who didn't start the season, and he's already up to 20 goals this late in the year. Now, it's not too often that I only talk about one team and the 1 goal, but this was a very special moment to say the least. The New York Islanders played host to the Washington Capitals. Bo Horvat would kick things off for the Islanders 7 minutes and 6 seconds in the opening period, getting his 26th goal of the year from Holmstrom and Anders Lee. Mark Gatcomb would increase the lead to 2-0, exactly at 9 minutes into the first, getting his 7th goal of the year from McLean and Romanov. Ovechkin, now this is the goal here that I'm going to highlight, and I will have his picture as my thumbnail for this video, would get his 42nd goal of the season on the power play from Tom Wilson and Dylan Strome. 7 minutes and 26 seconds into the second, and because of this goal, he now has taken over Wayne Gretzky's record for the most goals in the history of the National Hockey League with 895 goals. I can't believe he reached that feat this season, especially when he broke his leg earlier, I think it was like in November, and he was projected to miss a couple of months. He came back earlier than expected, and now he's got 42 goals on this season and counting. There's no telling how many goals he'll finish off this season, let alone his career. But in my lifetime, I'll be honest with you, I don't see anybody catching up to Ovechkin anytime soon. All right, after that, it was all New York. Matt Gagcom would score 10:26 of the second, increasing the lead to 3-1, getting his 8th goal of the year from Martin and McLean. And then John Gabriel Pajot would increase the lead to 4-1, 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the third, getting his 13th goal of the year unassisted. The Islanders would win 4-1. But again, congratulations on Ovechkin for getting the all-time goal-scoring goals. Battle in the Central has the Wild, who were struggling to say the least, took on the Stars. Jason Robertson would kick things off in the first, getting his 34th goal of the year from Mikko Rantanen and Esa Lindell, 5:51 of the first. Matt Boldy would tie the game up 3:08 of the third, getting his 26th goal of the year from Hartman and Spurgeon. Marcus Foligno would score not too long after that, giving the Wild their first lead of the night, his 13th of the season from Rossi and Matt Boldy. The Stars would tie the game up with 6 minutes and 55 seconds to go. Thomas Harley would score, getting his 16th of the year from Marchment and Matt Duchene. This game would need to go to overtime, and Marco Rossi would get the game-winning goal just 58 seconds into the overtime frame, getting his 24th of the year on the power play from Zuccarello and Boldy. So the Wild would get a huge and crucial 2 points in this matchup. All right, the Ottawa Senators played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Adam Gaudette would kick things off for the Sens in the first, getting his 17th of the year from Chabot and Nick Jensen, 2 minutes and 24 seconds of the first. Nicholas Matinpalo would get his first goal of the season from Giroux and Zetterlund, 4:26 of the first. 4:32 of the third, David Perron would score, increasing the lead to 3-0, getting his 9th goal of the year from Batherson and Tom Chabot. Columbus would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they were not able to score. Shane Pinto would get the empty netter, his 18th of the season from Sanderson and Ridley Gregg. So Ottawa would shut out Columbus 4-0. All right, now we're off to Detroit, as the Red Wings played host to the Florida Panthers, who are struggling to say the least. Alex DeBrincat would kick things off in the second, getting his 35th goal of the year from Lucas Raymond and Patrick Kane, 4:37 of the second period. JT Compher would score 11:23 of the second, getting his 10th of the year from Casper and Jeff Petrie. For Compher, that'd be his 10th of the year, as I said before. Lundell would prevent the Panthers from being shut out. He would score with 40 seconds to go in the game, getting his 17th of the season from Sam Skovich and Connor Verhaeghe, or Carter Verhaeghe, I should say. The final score would be 2-1 in favor of the Red Wings. Pretty high scoring game between another two teams from the Atlantic. The Buffalo Sabres played host to the Boston Bruins. The final score would be 6-3 in this one, the Sabres beating the Bruins. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Jason Zucker, who would increase lead he would give them a 4-3 lead. 1:59 of the third, getting his 21st goal of the year from Byram and Krebs. The Sabres would add 2 more goals on top of that, doubling up on the Bruins 6-3. The Blackhawks played host to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The game-winning goal would come off the stick of Ilya Mikheyev. 9 minutes and 40 seconds of the third, getting his 19th goal of the year from Connor Bedard and Renzel. 3-1 would be the final score. And the last game from Sunday took place in Vancouver, as we had 2 teams from the Pacific battling it out. The final score would be 3-2 in favor of the Golden Knights. They would score in the third period, giving them a 3-2 lead. So I'll take a look and see. Victor Olofsson would break the tie with 3 minutes and 14 seconds to go. 14th of the year from Carlson and Pietrangelo. So the Golden Knights would win 3-2. Now we'll take a look at the standings. As long as this thing isn't too bad. Bring it back a little bit. Holy cow. I know you can see the top team, but I wanted to just scroll this back a little bit. There's got to be something out here I can do to make it a little bit more visible. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so all I'll do is I'll just tip it like this. So in the Atlantic, The Toronto Maple Leafs are in first place with a record of 47-25-4. They have 98 points. They have clinched a playoff spot. The Tampa Bay Lightning have also clinched a playoff spot with a record of 44-26-6. They have 94 points. The Florida Panthers have a record of 44-29-4. They are 2 points behind Tampa for second spot in the Atlantic with a record of 44-29-4. So straighten this out, kind of. Still a little crooked. No matter what I do, it's going to be crooked. Either way, my apologies. In the Metropolitan Division, we had the Washington Capitals. They are still in first place with a record of 49-19-9. They have 107 points. More than likely, and I've said this so many times in my videos, they are probably going to get first place in that division and potentially first place in the Eastern Conference, which means that the playoffs could easily go through Washington in the Eastern Conference. In second place, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. They have a record of 46-26-4. They have 96 points. And right behind them are the New Jersey Devils. They have a record of 41-29-7. They have 89 points. So it's more than likely, if I had to make my prediction right now, Carolina and New Jersey will probably meet in the first round for the second time in 3 years. And they both finished second and third back in 2023. And they're more than likely going to finish second and third in 2025. All right, the two teams in the wildcard spot are both from the Atlantic. Ottawa, I believe they're just one more win away from finally getting a playoff spot for the first time since 2017. 42-29-6 is their record. They have 90 points. The Montreal Canadiens are also inching closer to a playoff spot. They have a record of 38-30-9. They have 85 points. The teams that are chasing Montreal are the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Rangers. Their records are 36-33-7 and 36-33-7. So they both have the same record, and they both have the same amount of points, and both have 6 games remaining on their schedule. So they both have 6 games to go, and they're both 6 points behind Montreal for that last wild card spot. So I think it's going to be very tough for both those teams to play catch-up. Yes, they have 1 game on hand with Montreal, but if Montreal keeps winning, then it's going to look slimmer and slimmer by the day for both the Red Wings and the Rangers to potentially steal that last playoff spot. The New York Islanders and the Columbus Blue Jackets are 7 and 8 points back, respectively. So neither team, no one's been eliminated so far in the Eastern Conference up to this point. The Islanders have a record of 34-32-10. They have 78 points. And the Columbus Blue Jackets have a record of 34-33-9. They have 77 points. The Buffalo Sabres, well, let's just scroll down to get the rest of the Eastern Conference. They're barely hanging on for dear life. They're 11 points back with 6 games remaining. So if they were to lose one more game, they would officially be eliminated. They have a record of 34-36-6. They have 74 points. The Penguins have now been eliminated for the 3rd straight year. They have a record of 31-35-12, 74 points with 4 games remaining. The Philadelphia Flyers have a record of 77-31-30. They have a record of 31-37-9. They have 71 points. And the Boston Bruins are last in the Eastern Conference with a record of 31-38-9. All right, now we're off to the Western Conference. I'll just scroll up to see if I can get all 6 teams in there. So the top has Winnipeg Jets in the Central Division. They're narrowly hanging on to first place with a record of 52-21-4. They have 108 points. The Stars are 3 points behind them, so they could possibly play catch-up. They have a record of 50-22-5. They have 105 points. The Colorado Avalanche are in 3rd place with a record of 47-27-4. They have 98 points. The Vegas Golden Knights are in 1st place, and they have a 5-point lead on LA, so it's very safe to say that Vegas probably will get that 1st place spot with a record of 47-22-8. The Los Angeles Kings are in 2nd place with a record of 44-23-9. They have 97 points. And the Edmonton Oilers are in 3rd place with a record of 44-27-5. Not looking too good for Edmonton to A, get 1st place, or B, catch up to LA, because they would have to win 3 in a row and LA would have to lose 3 in a row. And I just don't personally see that happening. All right, the 2 teams in the wild card are both from the Central Division. The St. Louis Blues have a record of 43-28-7. They have 93 points. Minnesota, after their big Sunday win, they have 91 points. The record is 42-29-7. So I'll first just look at the Flames, because Between the Flames and the Canucks, let's be realistic. The Flames probably have the more realistic and better chance of catching up to Minnesota. Yes, they're 6 points behind, but they also have 2 games on hand. That's 4 points just right there. So, yes, it was huge for Minnesota to get that win yesterday against the Stars, but just because you have a 6 point lead doesn't necessarily mean you can hold on to it. And like I said, as long as Calgary has those 2 games on hand, that's going to be crucial. And I'm pretty sure those 2 teams play some point this week. So the winner of that game, like say if Minnesota were to beat Calgary, then I'd say that they probably will get that final wild card spot. But if Calgary happens to win, this could be a very interesting end to the season for both the Wild and the Flames. So the Flames have a record of 36, 27, and 13. They have 85 points. As I said, they are 6 points behind Minnesota, so they would have to get 4 wins in a row, and Minnesota would have to lose at least 3 games in a row or 4 games in a row. And they have lost those amount of games before, so anything is possible. And like I said, with Calgary having 2 extra games and these 2 teams meeting later on in the week, that's going to be crucial for both these teams, a crucial 2 points for both these teams. Well, let's look at the rest of the Western Conference. So the Vancouver Canucks, they are currently 8 points out of a playoff spot with 5 games remaining. They have a record of 35, 29, and 13. I don't see them making the playoffs. I really, really don't. The Utah Hockey Club, they're kind of holding on for dear life. They have a record of 35, 30, and 12. They have 82 points. So they are 9 points out of a playoff spot with 5 games remaining. So therefore, if Utah were to lose 1 more game or Minnesota was to win 1 more game, then Utah would officially be eliminated from the playoffs. But playing this late in the season and not having an E beside your name, that truly shows that this team is on the up and rise. And who knows how year 2 will go for the hockey club. The Anaheim Ducks have a record of 33, 35, and 8. They have 74 points. The Seattle Kraken have a record of 33, 38, and 6. They have 72 points. The Nashville Predators have a record of 27, 42, and 8. They have 62 points. The Chicago Blackhawks have a record of 22, 45, and 10. They have 54 points. And the San Jose Sharks have a record of 20, 46, and 10. They have 50 points. All right, that's going to take care of my recap from the National Hockey League. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative as well. Until next time, and as always, take care.